And now, David will read our scriptures for today.
We have a number of passages. The first is Matthew 21, verse 22. And all things you ask in prayer, believing, you will receive. The next is John 16, verses 23 and 24. In that day you will not ask me anything. Truly, truly, I say to you that whatever you ask my Father in my name, he will give to you. Hitherto you have asked nothing in my name. Ask, and you will receive, so that your joy may be full. There's kind of a theme this morning that I'll let you figure out yourself. The next is James 4, verses 1 through 4. From whence come conflicts and quarrels among you? Is it not from the lust that war in your members? You covet and do not obtain. You kill and envy, but you cannot possess. You strive and fight, yet you have nothing, because you do not ask. You ask and you do not receive, because you do not ask sincerely. You ask that you may satisfy your desires. And finally, 1 John 3, verses 18 to 24. My children, let us not love one another in word and in tongue, but in deed and in truth. And by this we shall know that we are of the truth, and shall assure our hearts before he comes. For if our hearts condemn us, how much more then will God, who is greater than our hearts and knows all things? My beloved, if our hearts do not condemn us, then we have confidence before God. And whatever we ask, we receive from him, because we keep his commandments and do those things that are pleasing to him. And this is his commandment, that we should believe in the name of his Son, Jesus Christ, and love one another as he has commanded us. Whosoever keeps his commandments will be guarded by him and will dwell in him. And by this we will know that he abides in us, by the Spirit which he has given us. And now Reverend Macaulay will give us our lesson sermon.
Thank you, David. Today's lesson is on learning when and how to ask for help. The last time I spoke, I asked the question, can you empower yourself with optimism? When I wrote that lesson, I considered that question to be rhetorical, because as I see it, it's obvious that you can empower yourself with optimism. We're here at the start of a new year with a new administration, led by the first African American president in the history of the United States. I spoke about how a new day is dawning in America and change looms on the horizon. I'm very excited about the inauguration of President Obama, and I expect to see improvements come in every area of our lives. It may take some time to see the manifestations of this new administration, but I believe we're on the right track. Granted, many of us have suffered losses in our retirement accounts. We've seen the values of our homes decrease, and several 100,000 people across the country have lost jobs or seen their incomes diminish as mandatory furloughs are implemented. As we watch events like these take place, we tend to worry about lack, either in our distant or immediate future. At some point, we may realize that we just keep filling our mentalities with disastrous, unhealthy pictures. If we take a look at the photographs from the Great Depression in our history books, we see long lines of people standing, waiting for handouts, begging for food, money, jobs, or shelter. I've been wondering what the face of this recession would look like. We're told that there are neighborhoods full of houses which have been foreclosed on, that now sit empty. We're told that there are groups of people taking back those empty houses from the banks by placing squatters in those homes so that someone is there to take care of the property and prevent vandalism, giving some people at least a temporary place to live. We're told that 250,000 people across the country have been laid off. Where are all these people, and what are they doing for themselves? What effect will all these layoffs have on our lives? That remains to be seen. By now, you've probably heard the news about a family in Wilmington, California, about a half an hour's drive south of here, where a husband and wife who worked in a local hospital were both laid off. Apparently, they were so devastated by losing their jobs that they could not see any room for optimism in their lives. So they took their own lives as well as the lives of their 5 children, so as not to leave the children as a burden for someone else. The law of probability says that if one family acts out like that, it's likely that there are others out there who might be facing the same situation, that same fear of lack, and who might be headed in that same direction. If you find yourself feeling despondent, there are ways to work through your situation. Professional help is an option, but often we don't want to ask for help, or we're too embarrassed to ask for help. And sometimes we may even find ourselves asking the wrong person for help. Apparently, in his suicide note, the father of the family claimed that his former boss told him that they might as well go home and blow their brains out. A statement which could only come from someone whose motives were irresponsible. I imagine that if someone actually uttered those words, he has taken on their karma, which will be difficult to work through. There are people out there to help you with these problems. It may take some work and effort to find them, but you need to remember that people want to help others, and those people are out there, and help is available. From our lessons in metaphysics, there are many principles with which we are familiar, and I'd like to outline some of them here. First, we read several weeks ago in Ecclesiastes, "To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under the sun. Thus, there will be bountiful times, and there will be lean times." Our lives move in cycles. We generally get up when the sun rises, we eat when we're hungry, we work, we play, we rest, and at the end of the day, we sleep to restore our strength so that we can do it all over again the next day. If things aren't so good today, we can use our mentalities to form a plan, carry it out, achieve our goals, and have a better day tomorrow. This gives us a plan and a reason to go forward. If we don't achieve our goals, there's always another opportunity tomorrow. And if things are good today, they might be even better tomorrow. The point I want to stress is that if you look back at all the various crises in history, man has always recovered in one way or another. No matter how difficult or devastating your situation, you will recover, and there will be better times ahead. You may not be able to see that far into the future, but you can reasonably assume that if you make the effort, conjure up a plan of action, take steps to carry out that plan, and have faith in God and in yourself and others, you will be successful in whatever you undertake to accomplish. Second, we know the law of abundance, of enough and to spare for our every need now. If we're meditating regularly, realizing abundance in each of our lives now, there is no reason why we should lack anything. We know that in God's universe, there is no lack. We know that it's God's good pleasure to give each one of us the kingdom. One of the most difficult aspects of the law of abundance is learning to understand the difference between overcoming lack and realizing abundance. I know it took me many years to get a real understanding of that concept. One way of looking at it is to say that overcoming lack means that your mentality is focused on what you don't have.